Okay, we are here today with Cigar Royalty. We're at the El Relo building in Ybor City in Tampa, Florida, Cigar City, with the JC Newman family. And I am honored to be here. We have Bobby Newman, Eric Newman, and Drew Newman. So we have two generations here of a plethora of cigar making generations from the family, and we're in probably the most historic and the last real building left still manufacturing cigars in Cigar City. Pretty cool. So Drew, one of your rollers just gave us this cigar. Johnny Taquitos, I don't know if you can see this beauty, but this is my kind of cigar. I love the twisty cap. I love the closed foot. Can you tell us a little bit about what this cigar is and what makes it special?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. And we're so happy to have you here in our El Relo factory.
Honored.
This is a Angel Cuesta, an Angel Cuesta, which is a new cigar we're rolling here in El Relo and hope to start sharing later this year. But the story of Angel Cuesta or Angel Cuesta goes back to 1884 when Angel La Madrid Cuesta and Peregrino Rey came together to form a company they called Cuesta Rey.
Wow.
And that's how the historic Cuesta Rey brand started. It was made in Cuba. The old Cuban factory is still there. It was made here in Tampa. It was the official cigar of King Alphonse XIII of Spain. It's just a storied cigar brand. And as we're starting to roll cigars again by hand here in El Relo, we wanted to create a very special cigar to celebrate the legacy of Angel Cuesta. And you know, Brian, it just so happens that our roller here rolling these special cigars is named Angel or Angel as well.
I got that.
And with the special top two reminds me of a halo, of an angel.
I love that.
It's an angel of a cigar, and we're so excited. I think you're the first non-Newman to smoke one of these, Brian.
Look at this.
So,
I mean, you know, this is
welcome
incredible. You can vicariously smoke this with me at home. So is this only available at the El Relo building?
It's not available at all right now.
Okay. Okay.
But when it is, it's going to be.
But if Pravada people come here and they're like, "Hey, maybe we can try to maybe
if
just
they
a
say
maybe."
they're a friend of Brian and a friend of Pravada, it will we'll hook them up.
All right, I think we just converted some haters out there. So for those of you who don't know, the El Relo building, which translates to the watch or the clock, right? The clock.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a huge clock tower building that's made cigars in it since 1910. All right, so there's a ton of history here, and the Newmans have recently restored this building, okay? I want to talk about that building, but for those of you with a short attention span that might click off within the first 5-10 minutes of a video, I want you to understand something. The reason why the Newmans are so important in this industry and for cigar culture is that behind the scenes, and you guys don't brag about this, but this family has done more for cigar rights and fighting against taxes and regulations on cigars. So for that, from every Pravada member, I have to say thank you. It's really a true honor to be here, and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And I see it, and I'm relaying that to our people so they know that, okay?
Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So let's talk about the building. You grew up here.
I did. So my great-grandfather fell in love with this building and decided to buy it really on a whim in 1953 when he decided to move our company down from Cleveland to the Cigar City of Tampa.
Wow, he knew ahead of time, huh?
And so, you know, he loved old buildings, loved cigar factories, and this is the just a really iconic building. When El Relo was built in 1910, it was heralded as the largest and the finest cigar factory in all the world. And for the last 111 years, cigars have been handcrafted here, and we're here on the third floor with the same floors, the same walls, the same ceilings, the same stories that have been really developed over the last 111 years of cigar making here in El Relo.
Wow, it's truly incredible. So as a kid, you grew up in cigars. You grew up with tobacco around you at all times. You never knew anything else, right? I mean,
well, Brian, you know, what makes my family unique is that we're a 4-generation, 126-year-old American family business. And so you don't get to choose where you're born, when you're born, and how you're born. Each of us kind of shows up in the world.
Sure.
And I was lucky enough to be born into this family and this family business, and to really learn about it from the ground up. From when I was just young and barely able to walk, Dad, you would bring me here to the factory, and either on after school or on weekends, and you'd have things to do. So you would tell me, just go run around the factory, entertain yourself for a while, which is what I did. And you would work, and I would go explore this incredible building.
And more than that, Drew gave some incredible tours. When he was like 9 years old, we had visitors here, and the people went on a tour. I was tied up, Bob was tied up, and Drew said, I'll take care of it. He comes back 2 hours later. Where did you go? You can't have a 2-hour tour. 8 years old. He knew all the nicks and crannies of this. He grew up in this factory, and he gave incredible tours. And I said, Drew, how can you talk for 2 hours about the factory? Well, Dad, I thought 3 hours was kind of long. I could talk for 3 hours, so I give him 2 hours. If somebody gives me a tour, I'll give him a half hour or more. So, but Drew was all in it.
That's awesome. So, honestly, at what age did you sneak one of the cigars off and try to smoke it, or did you have to, or like what was?
I didn't. You know, I had my first cigar when I was about a month shy of turning 19.
Really?
And so not only did I wait till the legal age, it wasn't like driving when you turn 16 and wanted to drive, for a couple of reasons. One, cigars were what my grandfather smoked, and so what he did, as much as I loved and adored my grandfather, he wasn't exactly cool. And so as a teenager, I wasn't trying to emulate the coolness of my grandfather, and two, I had grown up around the smell and the touch of tobacco, and so it didn't really occur to me to be a young kid smoking cigars. But what I did find fascinating was the tradition, the history, the fact that we're still rolling cigars today the same way we've been doing for 100 years.
Yeah.
Learning that part of the business has always been fascinating to me.
It's very cool. And so, Eric, Bobby, I think things are coming to a fever pitch again. We're seeing some sort of there's movement in the market right now, right? This is an exciting time to be in cigars, and there's this whole next generation of cigar smokers that are coming up that care a lot about the craft, about the people making them, about the families behind it, right? And so while I want to talk about that, I want to know, because it's very telling about a story of a family, was there a time where there was a struggle? What was it? What were the years? Was there a time where you thought maybe, you might not?
Brian, the best way to answer that is, when was there a time when there was not a struggle in our 126 years?
Yeah.
And I'll let...
This is our 126th year in business, but 100 of those years have been challenge years. Think about, we've had 2 pandemics, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, Cuban embargo, smoking bans, excise taxes. Now we've been battling FDA regulation for 12 years now. It always has been a struggle. Family businesses are difficult. If you know people in family businesses, in any industry, going from one generation to a second generation is a challenge. Second generation to a third generation to fourth generation, there's reasons why very, very few family businesses make it as long as we have. Wow. And we've been very fortunate. I started this business in '72 when I was 24 years old, Bobby a couple years later, and just all we know in this business. A couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry, like any industry. The president of a company that was acquiring company just bought this other cigar company and said, "What are you doing about succession planning?" I never thought about it because I'm going to live forever. Well, I'm going to live forever. We can't take this business with us. I said, we didn't have Drew, fourth generation, and the rest of this business, and Bobby's kids as well. We'd sell it because, there's you can't put it in the casket with us.
Sure.
But fortunately, we have, Drew's interested, very much interested in the business. He's run this business. I joke with him. I've given him the baton.
Right.
Haven't let go of it yet.
Sure.
To give him the baton.
He's the prince soon to be king.
But if it wasn't for the next generation, we would have sold the business like so many other cigar companies.
Sure.
So
Wow. I mean, my mind is blown with that. I did not consider. I thought you were going to tell me a story like, something I hear with Yingling, where Dick Yingling was going to shut it down in the 80s. No one bought the beer, and now he's a billionaire. It's amazing. But this is,
We'll give you a story. Bobby, can you tell us a story about the leverage buyout in the 80s?
My goodness. In 1985, I went to my father first and my brother. Said that we've got to either buy we had 14 relatives in this business. We either have to buy them or they have to buy us. It was like the Hatfields and the McCoys. We had just had 13 consecutive quarters of sales going down, the profits. Everyone was fighting. It was terrible. And you talk about generations. The reason most businesses don't last into the third generations is because of the phenomena a natural phenomena that our grandfather told to our father Stanford. And Dad used to say, be careful about the story, or he said, remember the story about shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves. Okay, Brian, you're wearing shirt sleeves right now, okay? So, and the story is...
No class.
No, it helps.
Wear shirt sleeves too.
And you got our email, so thank you for wearing short sleeves. So, the way the story goes, it's true, and it follows this, that back in the turn of the last century, 1880s, 1890s, only wealthy people could afford long sleeves. So, because it's extra cloth, think about that. Mm-hmm. So, first generation comes from offshore somewhere, and they start their business, become very successful. They're very, very poor, but they become very successful. The second generation sees how hard they work, and they get it. So they take over the business. Third generation never saw how, it's not their fault, but the third generation never saw how hard the first generation worked.
Sure.
And they don't either, they're not interested, or they want to sell the business, or they go bankrupt. And so that's where the story came.
In the 1980s, cigar industry sucked. And really, sales are going down for us, everybody. Wow. And here we are, a new generation, third generation of Newmans coming into business. We have, wives and kids and families. We need more from the business. At that time, the business was able to go less and less. So Bob was saying, it was decided if we were going to go to the next generation stay in business, one part of the family had to buy out the other. So in 1986, my father owned a third of the business. He ran manufacturing. Our uncle ran sales. He owned a third, and the sisters collected dividends. They owned a third. They wanted dividends to go around. So 1/3 bought out 2/3. Valentine's Day, 1986. For about 5 years, we thought they got the best part of the deal. Some decisions made in life are made with a heart, some are made with a head. For about 5 years, I thought maybe the heart got away with the head. But in the early 90s, cigar boom came along, cigars became in vogue. Cigar aficionado came out, brought a lot of cigar smokers out of the closet. With a cigar boom in the 90s, which we had never seen before. It peaked in 97, cooled off in the year 2000, 2001, and started to level off again up until this past year. We have another spike. And we're very...
Asking that, again, my mind is blown because I'm asking about your struggles. And again, I was expecting to hear a very novelty story about one particular time, but you're right. The company's 126 years old, 2 pandemics, recessions out the wazoo. I mean, forget about it. Every 10, 15 years, there's another huge recession or depression even. The company's lived through a depression. So that is amazing to me. I wasn't expecting that, and that's a lot to take in, and it's going to affect the way that I look at other businesses. And then you're right, the family business. I mean, it's harder. My father and I did a business deal. I won't say it hurt the relationship, but it definitely strained it for a time that money was tied up in things. It happens. I think all of our viewers are, people that can understand how that may happen and have lived through experiences like that. So to have 14 different relatives within the business and then go through, purchasing parts of it from them. You still talk to that side of the family?
We actually get along better now than we did. But you can imagine all 14 relatives are eating at the trough.
Right.
And the trough was getting smaller.
Sure.
More relatives, so something had to be done. Our grandfather started in 1895. There are 42,000 licensed cigar manufacturers. You have to have a license to make cigars in order to pay excise taxes. And you have a license then, you didn't have it now. And those 42,000 cigar manufacturers from 1895, we're the only one left. This is old, not bred by the founding.
42,000
to
to one.
Yeah. Even Tampa had 150 cigar factories. And we moved here in 53. There's still 10 big family-owned companies making Cuban cigars, Cuban binder, Cuban filler, Cuban wrapper. The embargo comes, and one by one, the other factories merge with other companies. They move offshore. They sell out to other companies that close their doors all together. So we are very fortunate that we're still here.
Wow. 12 years of lobbying, of trying to be proactive with the laws, taxes, regulations. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that as far as, how much of your time and energy? I have to be honest with you, as a business owner who's, just starting to become successful in the world, I can't imagine having to create a fund, a portion of my profits that I now have to reinvest to educate the US government or tax people or, to try to prevent those things from happening. It's got to be a little frustrating.
Well, our family has been civically engaged for the entirety of our business. My great-grandfather writes of taking, in his autobiography, Smoke Dreams, about taking the train from Cleveland to Washington, D.C. to go lobby the Department of Agriculture because cigar manufacturers were struggling to get enough tobacco at the time, 100 years ago, because the federal quotas on cigar tobacco grown in the United States were not high enough. My grandfather was very politically active here in Tampa as well and in Washington, D.C., and I think that is something that our family has learned over the past 126 years, that we have to advocate for ourselves, because if we don't, nobody else will do so for us. But particularly in an industry like ours, where we're the last American cigar company, the last American cigar factory, and the vast majority of premium cigars are made overseas, most of our friends in the business aren't from here, and they don't understand our government. They don't understand how our political system works, and so we take it upon ourselves to help lead that effort, because we understand our political system, and it can speak the cigar language, and can speak the language as Americans and American business owners, and translate how regulations and laws and taxes affect us. And so it's something that our family has always done. It's something that we're very happy to do, in part because we want our business to be around for another 126 years, and so we've got to fight for that right.
And if there's anything Pravada members can do, petitions, anything, showing up places, please let us know. We're here to serve.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I think the best thing I would say is just get to know your local elected officials, your local city council members, your local congressional representatives. A lot of people who don't smoke cigars don't know how this beautiful handmade luxury product, how it's different than a cigarette. And we all know, Brian, what a special product a premium handmade cigar is, but when the government thinks about tobacco, they think about tobacco with one broad brush. And so just being able to educate and demystify how special this product is to elected officials is just so important.
Yeah. And so I feel like Pravada's role in that is ushering in this next generation of cigar smokers that are starving for something that cigar smokers weren't really hungry for in the past, which is the culture, the understanding, the art behind it, the culinary aspect, how it's made, who these people are. They want to know. We're starting to get, there's some factories where, only 2 rollers can make a certain cigar, and we take pictures of them, get their names out there, that kind of thing. Yeah, and so we're creating this craft culture in cigars, and I am extremely lucky and proud to have JC Newman involved in that, and I thank you guys for welcoming us and for helping us and for allowing us to make a cigar in your recently opened Nicaraguan cigar factory, which is The Good Life, by the way, made by JC Newman. So I know we're all happy with that product, and so thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Brian. We're so grateful to you and the whole Pravada community for really embracing what it is to make a premium cigar, there's so much more than just simply a roll of tobacco in a box. It's a handcrafted product that we make and that you and your members enjoy, and it's a real privilege to work with you and to partner with you and support your growing community, because you and your community really understand how special a product this is. And as a family business, our cigars are so personal to us that we really value the opportunity to share our story, share this craft with people like you who understand it. And so it's a real partnership, and we're very grateful for it.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to hear that. And lastly, I want to say that part of growing that craft culture in cigars comes to having destinations, okay? In craft beer, it's become breweries. And in cigars, right now, this is the premier destination. You have to, if you're a cigar smoker, find your way to Tampa, to Ybor City. Come here, look at the history, visit El Relo, enjoy yourself, and take in a bit of the history of cigars. So, with that being said, hashtag We Are Pravada, hashtag JC Newman. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks for being here, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.